You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I am back. Rodgers for our Black and White Sports 2. Well, we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. As we know, Aaron Rodgers is a saga that is continuing to go on, continuing to play out. We're steamrolling less than a week away from the NFL 2023 draft. Of course, there's quarterbacks that are up for grabs. And, you know, something we haven't talked about in all this, because now there's been whispers, and honestly, we're on 3 weeks now of whispers about the 49ers and Aaron Rodgers. I don't believe that just came out of nowhere, that was just manufactured. Now, is there a chance that something could have came from the Packers as way of leverage? Sure, that's possible. But I also don't think the Trey Lance trade speculation is out of nowhere. Michael Lombardi said on his podcast that it's highly likely, as in it's almost a certainty, that the Niners are the ones that, you know, told Rappaport, hey, put this out there, that the Niners are, that they're fielding calls from teams on Trey Lance. Well, that was Niners driven in order to create a market for Trey Lance. Now, Lombardi and me probably agree on this too. He thinks he's worth like a fifth. Okay? So it is what it is. Now, we're going to get to the New York Post because they've written about what is holding up the Rodgers-Jets thing. I believe the Jets are playing with some fire here if this thing doesn't get completed. All right? And I don't even know if necessarily you can jump out there and say, okay, well, it's all the 49ers. Because if I'm the Tennessee Titans, knowing that Aaron Rodgers is building a home in Nashville, why are you not making that call? Mike Vrabel, Derrick Henry, pretty good team, probably solidify it some in the draft, can certainly win that division, that AFC South division. You know, with a good quarterback. You've got Ryan Tannehill. Frankly, I think he can win that division. But, you know, you got to wonder. And frankly, if you were the Packers, what if the Tennessee Titans call you up and offer you a second and Ryan Tannehill? Well, wait a minute. I'm getting a former Pro Bowl quarterback back in this deal. I'm just throwing that out there, but frankly, Ryan Tannehill and the Packers could win that NFC North. I mean, that's very possible. And you offer some juice to your club. I'm just throwing that out there. Okay, there's no Titans, although I did hear Titans rumors about 2 months ago before the Jets got heavily involved prior to the my intention is to go to the New York Jets. Well, you know, a lot of things can come out of intentions. Well, I intended to not do this, but somehow I ended up in a bind. Yeah. So let's get to this. Also, make sure you go subscribe on podcast. All of our audio from all of our videos across all of our channels are available. Spotify, Apple, Google, CastBox. You know the drill. Everywhere podcasts are available. Black and White Network is going to be there. Let's do this. By the way, I do have some more Niners tidbits because now you've got the New York Post writing about this Niners thing. So it continues to get interesting. Now you throw in the fact that Tom Brady got asked point blank about the Miami Dolphins, and I did a video on that last night, and he gives a non-answer. He didn't say, no, I'm staying retired. No chance. None of that. It was his answer immediately calls up speculation as to a return by the GOAT. So this could get so interesting. And the one thing that's not being talked about enough in all this, in my opinion, is the fact that the Jets could be royally effed here. If this falls through, they're mother effed. What are they going to do? Back to Zach Wilson? All that talent on that team? I mean, if you're the Jets, you pretty much got to get this done, or The alternative is your asses better enter the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes or something, because this isn't, if Joe Douglas, and look, I really like a lot of the draft picks and things that Joe Douglas has done, inquiring talent, I do. I think he's done a good job. But if he does not have a valid and solid Aaron Rodgers backup plan, which I don't know what that would be. I mean, the quarterback market is pretty much picked over. If he does not have a backup plan, if this falls through, it's going to be a disaster. A disaster, truly. So let's get to this. It's been 5 weeks since Aaron Rodgers declared during an appearance on the Pat McAfee show that he wanted to play for the Jets. 5 weeks later, we're still waiting. The standoff between the Jets and the Packers over a Rodgers trade continues. Is there an end in sight? It's got to be around, look, I think it's before the start of the second round in the draft. That's my guess. Sometime during that day or in that hour leading up to the draft actually commencing on the second day, I think is when Rodgers and the Jets and the Packers make this deal happen. Since March 15 interview, when it became clear that Rodgers wanted to come to the Jets, the question has been when the two teams could work out a deal. The biggest issue there was no deadline to spur action. Rodgers had no bonus coming due. The two teams were not even close to practicing. Both sides could sit back and posture with no pressure points on the horizon. Don't we think it's odd that they haven't talked since the freaking combine? I mean, that's crazier than hell. That first pressure point is about to arrive, however, in the form of the 2023 NFL Draft, which begins Thursday. The feeling all along has been the draft may be what pushes the two sides to make a deal. We'll find out. The sticking point in the negotiations remains the Packers' demand that the Jets include their 2024 first-round pick in any deal. As the Packers see it, Rodgers is a 4-time MVP, and the Jets clearly feel he will make their team a contender. The Jets do not want to exchange an unconditional first-round pick for a player who will turn 40 on December 2nd and who may not play for the Jets in 2024. The Jets' preference is to send Green Bay a conditional 2024 pick, a second-day pick that can become a first-round choice if certain conditions are met. I mean, that makes sense. And, if I'm the Packers, what's the risk there exactly? If he retires, great. You've got a second-day pick. If he chooses to keep playing, it becomes a first-round pick. Now, there may be other conditions. In other words, that he plays a certain amount of games, he throws a certain amount of yards, wins a certain amount of games, yada, yada, yada. Again, I think they're all valid conditions in this. I do. It is unknown what conditions the Jets are putting forth. Examples of such a condition would be, if the Jets go to an AFC Championship game, then the pick would become a first-rounder. There you go. If Rodgers wins the MVP, it would become a first-round pick. There you go. If either side concedes on the 2024 draft pick, this deal can happen quickly. That brings us to the 2023 draft. While the two sides are not discussing a first-round pick from this year, they are talking about one of the Jets' 2 second-round picks going to the Packers. Those picks will be made sometime after the second round begins at 7 p.m. next Friday. That is a soft deadline now for Rodgers to get the deal done. I literally just said that. The second round next Friday at 7 p.m. If the Packers want to come away from the trade with anything to show for it in 2023, they need to make it happen by the Jets while the Jets are on the clock at 42. They also have the 43rd pick, too, by the way. If the deal is not done by then, things could change drastically, and the value of what the Packers could get in return for Rodgers would drop. The teams then would be looking at 2024 and 2025 picks, which are much harder to predict. the Jets are going to be much more reluctant to deal premium picks for years in which they don't even know who their quarterback is going to be. I still believe the deal has to get done for both sides. The Packers can't go back to Rodgers. They have made a full pivot to Jordan Love, both privately and publicly. The Jets have no plan B. At some point, general managers Joe Douglas and Brian Gutekunst have to find a compromise and make it work. As for the idea that another team can swoop in and grab Rodgers, that seems far-fetched. Rodgers is clearly invested in the Jets and wants to come here. Calais Campbell revealed on the Crew podcast with reporter Josina Anderson that Rodgers texted him about joining the Jets. Quote, "Yo, man, let's go win a championship together." Campbell chose the Falcons, but it shows Rodgers is trying to make moves for the Jets. Douglas and Gutekunst have engaged in posturing for weeks now, and there have not been many discussions since the league meetings last month. That could change in the coming days. The GMs need to find out how to make this work. And then, 49ers, Aaron Rodgers whispers get louder in possible Jets nightmare. And, I wanted to talk about this because we didn't talk about the Jets side of this in my video yesterday. And this is potentially disastrous for the Jets organization, the fans. Now, I would be ignorant not to come out and recognize there are Jets fans on some of the videos I have made that actually do not want the Jets to make this deal for Rodgers. Okay, now they don't want Zach Wilson either, but they want him to go a different route. Most times, Lamar Jackson is brought up. The problem is we all have greatly chronicled that circle jerk on this channel involving no agent, yada, 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 fully guarantees. He wants a boat ton of money, even if it's not fully guaranteed. And he's starting to have some real egg on his face right now because a lot of people are starting to do the whole, ooh, Lamar, you should have taken that deal the Ravens offered you last year that Schefter and Mortensen both talked about over at the mothership. So, if they trade Trey Lance and Brock Purdy isn't available to play this year because of UCL surgery, Sam Darnold is not, I promise you, is not starting for the 49ers. That is what Tiki Barber said. I'm not so sure about that, Tiki, to be honest with you. I mean, Sam Darnold, I guarantee you, this is the thing when you get a guy that's in New York talking about things that's going on in San Francisco. Well, here's some peel back the curtain action. If you listen enough to various sources and pundits that cover the Niners on a day in and day out basis like I do, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have liked Sam Darnold for a long time. Okay? And there were real conversations about getting him before he went to the Panthers. All right? So, and Kyle Shanahan, we know in his mind, he's got a theory that he could win it all with a midline quarterback. Again, we're talking about a coach that got 4,000 yards out of Nick Mullins, for crying out loud. All right? So it's a very QB-friendly offense, which is even more of an indictment on Trey Lance right now, by the way. They've gotten to the championship game. They've gotten deep in the playoffs. This team will go get Aaron Rodgers if he's available, and the Jets, the premise we started with, will be stuck out in the cold with their underwear on, and that's it. Interesting. Carton had previously mentioned the conversation. There had been multiple third-round picks in this draft and a first-round pick in next year's draft for possible compensation. That's interesting. The San Francisco sent its 2023 first-round pick to the Dolphins 2 years ago as part of a package to move up in the 2021 draft when they selected Trey Lance third overall. The former North Dakota State product, who suffered a season-ending ankle injury in Week 2, has been the subject of recent trade rumors. And, of course, that's kicking off. And like I said earlier to start this, a lot of people believe that's a product of the Niners floating that out to get the conversation worked up. Now, something we didn't cover a lot in all that yesterday, and I may end up making another video on this, but I'll mention it. Kirk Cousins and the 49ers are still a thing. That is still a thing. We've known for a long time Kyle Shanahan has wanted Kirk Cousins, and there's still a flirtation process there. They love Kirk. The Shanahan family drafted him because they thought then RG3 probably wasn't going to work out. I call it one of the shrewdest moves we have ever seen in all of personnel. To have the guts to come back in a draft that you selected a quarterback because the owner wanted RG3, and have the coach say, you know what, we're taking another quarterback and we like him a lot. Again, Washington probably should have kept Kirk Cousins because it has been a revolving door of diarrhea ever since getting rid of him. He's just one of these more stabilizing quarterbacks, right? So anyway, a lot of people don't like Kirk Cousins. I like Kirk Cousins. I think he's made marked improvement over the last several years, right? And I certainly think on a team like the Niners, yeah, they could go to the Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins and probably win it. I know there's a feeling out there that many believe they would have already won it with Kirk Cousins. But anyway, if I'm the Jets, my biggest concern in all this is the 49ers and or another team popping up out of nowhere. I would have said, maybe Tampa Bay would have been a team to watch, but they signed Baker Mayfield, so I doubt it, But the Titans, that whole building the house there, you've got Ryan Tannehill you could throw in the package. Just, get some excitement in that Tennessee city. I don't know. I just always throw out Tennessee because there's always rumors about them and a quarterback. And if he's building a home there, that makes things interesting. But the biggest wild card and the biggest situation in all this is the fact that Joe Douglas and the Jets don't have a backup plan. And that is potentially disastrous for the New York Jets. This could turn out to be a complete nightmare for Jets fans. You luck up, and you got more talent now than you did this time last year, and that's saying a lot. There's a lot of talent on that team, and nobody to throw the ball. Jesus. Tell me what you think, Black and White Sports 2 supporters. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.